From Maketoys and their Remaster EX line, this is the MTRM EX07 Slipswarm, their version of a masterpiece slipstream. This was exclusive to TFCon 2023, but it's still available at a lot of places. They had a pretty large run, entirely with the idea being that the initial run would be an exclusive, and then after that, there would just be more of these available a few months later for the general public. Slipstream is one of my favorite Decepticons. Easily in my top 3 favorite Seekers. It's basically her, Thundercracker, Skywarp. Those are my 3 favorite Decepticon jets. This is going to be a completely unique remold to give Slipstream most of the proportions that you'd expect from her, as well as giving her her fans. You can also see the box has been done up to really homage Transformers Animated. You can see here on the side more of that design, stylized. I love the back of the box where you can see all these different action poses. The thing I like about this is whereas most Masterpiece boxes try to really lean into adult collectible, this is leaning more into the idea of, oh, it's like an action figure box for children. The Transformers Animated box wouldn't have looked like this, but they would have put the toys into action poses like this. And then here on the back, just more stuff, Slipstream. Yay! Let's actually get her out of the box. This is how Slipstream comes packaged. You can see that unlike Thundercracker and Skywarp, they folded up her legs alongside her arms. And also, I've noticed a couple other things. The extra faces are just in a separate window now. There's no second head, but there is another set of guns, looking more like ramjets blasters. It looks like there's going to be a lot of options to talk about with this figure, so now let's get her fully out of this casing. This is how Slipstream looks straight out of the box once you get all of her limbs folded out, and there's a lot of things to like here. For one, the color scheme, as always, is wonderful. I know Derek J. White at one point tried to say that Slipstream's colors are based off of Mega, one of the Breastmasters for Overlord. Look at this figure, I think it's pretty fair to say it was probably G2 Ramjet. It was probably G2 Ramjet that inspired these colors, but unlike G2 Ramjet or Mega, the colors are well balanced here. There's enough black and silver to break up what could be a garish color scheme, allowing that electric all-spark blue to really have a great contrast to the royal purple throughout. It's also worth noting that, even though there is already another purple Seeker, that being Skywarp, I think Slipstream has always been able to have their own unique feeling, seeing as how she is actually mostly purple, whereas Skywarp, again, is supposed to be mostly black. And finally, I do think that there were a couple of decisions made here to make her different from the original version of the mold that again helps in making this feel more like Slipstream and not just an off-color Starscream. Pulling in Thundercracker, you can see a lot of the choices they made. The knee guards are much bulkier, the feet are much wider, they don't have the same tail fins, Slipstreams always have to stick out, the wings are completely different to allow for those VTOL blades. Alongside that, they only gave Slipstream the larger version of the Maketoys Seeker head. You don't have the option to go for the smaller one. But that's in keeping with the fact that they've actually shrunk the torso a bit. Slipstream, as a result, is smaller, but the figure's been made slightly wider so that she still has an imposing figure, but makes her distinct from how the rest of the Seekers look. Personally, that's how I would want a Slipstream done. I want her to have the same size and bulk as the other Seekers, while still having a very unique set of proportions. A way to differentiate her from the rest of them. It just feels right. It's a great use of this body, making slight tweaks to make Slipstream feel a little bit more special and unique. I'm kind of surprised that they're probably never going to use a lot of these body designs again. I suppose you could probably reuse those wings for thrust, but other than that, this is kind of a one and done for Slipstream. Alongside that, there were so many small decisions made that also help the feeling of this figure. Things like adding more of these fans in the, I forget what you call these, basically like the air intakes of the Seeker chest. You also have the pink eyes, which I don't think that's actually from anything. It might be from Cyberverse, because I'm pretty sure animated Slipstream also just had red eyes, but another way to help her feel a little bit different. The paint throughout the figure is absolutely perfect. The sculpting feels good and solid, And it's a valiant effort to take Slipstream, a very Derek J. Wyatt, very animated coded design, and making it feel like it was supposed to be in Sunbow. I think Slipstream is one of those few new characters like Lockdown, Bulkhead, and to some extent, maybe, just maybe Toxitron, to where it feels like they were supposed to be in G1 the entire time. And as a result, I like seeing a G1ified version of this secret body being given to Slipstream. The articulation is just as good here as it was on the other Maketoys Seekers. We have a very good ball joint in the head. You can get a lot of emotion out of it. Alongside that, you have a universal here in the shoulder. Boop. You have an upper arm cut, a good double jointed elbow, a wrist swivel, all these different joints down here in the fingers, ball joint for the thumb, and then a hinge for the mid joint, alongside a hinge, 3 hinges in all the fingers. Get you very expressive hands. You have a waist joint, as well as an ab crunch, so you do have to mistransform the figure just a bit to make use of it. And then down here, if we can move the armor, we have a ratcheted forward, as well as a universal down here at the hip, an upper leg cut, a good single jointed knee, and then a little bit of back and forth at the actual foot. So, not the most articulated Masterpiece figure, not the most articulated Seeker figure, but very well done. My one complaint with Slipstream is, perhaps due to the extra weight of her wings, she's a little bit more back heavy than the other Seekers, and she also is lacking the hill spur that Skywarp and Thundercracker had due to her new design legs. It's a bit of an issue, but nothing too terrible. Of course, we also have a handful of accessories. We have these missiles that are meant for jet mode. You also have these big, bulky missile launchers that are from the Coneheads. They look rather nice. They can go in the place of the usual Seeker arm cannons. We'll just put it in. It's always a bit of a tight fit getting these guns into the arms of these guys here. In fact, since there's paint on this one, it looks like it's going to be even more of a fight to get it in. Come on, Slipstream. Come on. Wow. Like, I don't know why they would have painted this. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's already starting to chip. But because they painted the actual port... Oh, come on. There we go. It was a fight to get it in. But we have in the very big missile launcher. It's cool, especially if you... well, as I was saying, the bulkier launchers are cool, and I think I actually do like them for Slipstream. But at the same time, I think I would have preferred using the normal null rays. You see, these are good too, and when I think of Slipstream, I do think of these guys, because again, animated, she had more null rays like these. Maybe if these were purple and then had silver tips, kind of like the way the Legends figure did it. At the same time, I don't know, I didn't think I would like those. But now that I'm seeing both of them on the figure, I really do. I think I prefer her with the Conehead launchers. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. Unfortunately, using the Conehead launchers, there is just one slight issue, that being we can't put the blast effects on. But if we were to have used the normal null rays, you would just take this, boom. Again, I don't put my figures on display with the blast effects, but it's something worth noting. And yeah, overall, I'm really digging how Slipstream came together. My one question is, couldn't we do something about the face? The face Slipstream comes packaged with is a little bit generic for my taste. It looks a little bit like a smirk or a sneer, but there's not a lot past that. So there are two alternate faces. One is this face, in which, I guess it's a little bit more generic, neutral, and then there is one screaming face. None of these faces really have a good feel for Slipstream to me. When I think of Slipstream still, when I'm like, what is one character that defines Slipstream, it's in animated when Ultra Magnus starts walking away, and she has the one eyebrow raised as she says, size, yes! And then she orders everybody aim for the legs. So I'm thinking like a sadistic smirk for that yelling bit, and then the kind of eye raised, I'm figuring this out, almost like Sherlock Holmes face for that moment of hers. And we don't really have any faces like that. Alongside that, Skywarp and Thundercracker came with 5 faces. Slipstream only came with 3. On the other hand, she came with 2 extra weapons. So I guess it balances out. It just depends on what you prefer more between the guns or the faces. As much as I like these big ramjet guns, I think I would have preferred the extra faces. Then again, getting the other null rays on here, I like them a lot too. This might be a thing where like every few weeks I change out the guns on Slipstream. But I think it's clear to say, even though I have some issues with the new robot mode, and I don't think she's as fully featured as Skywarp and Thundercracker, Slipstream is still very impressive to me on every level. And now, I'm just curious what the new transformation will be like. Guys, I don't know if it's just my copy, or what exactly I could be doing wrong here. You'll notice Slipstream is not done being transformed, and they're probably not going to get any further. The thing is, right, when I did Thundercracker's review, I got frustrated, nothing happened. You know, it's not like the figure broke or anything, but like there were a lot of parts where it's like, this feels a bit stiff. And then I messed with Skywarp and I thought, I must have just been confused. Slipstream feels worse than Thundercracker. So many of the joints, when you move them, you hear these horrible snaps and creaks and rattles. And when we get back to robot mode, I have to confess about something that very much went wrong. I don't want to go any further. Like you can see, I got the front part done, the back part, this is not coming together. And I don't want to stress it anymore because the wings keep making these horrible groaning noises. I don't know if maybe I just got like a bad copy. I don't know if this was a thing with Slipswarm. I don't know, and I don't want to go any further. The jet mode looks fine, okay? But at the same time, I don't want to risk breaking the toy to show a jet mode that it's only ever going to be in one time. I'm never going to transform this thing again. The transformation when it works is great. Skycrow is great. I still don't know if Thundercracker was me or was similar to the Slipswarm in that maybe it was just a little bit stiff. But in any case, I'm not going any further. We're going back to robot mode now. Getting Slipstream back to robot mode, do you notice something? Do you notice maybe a piece is missing? Can you put your finger on it? The thumb on her right hand snapped off as I was trying to make a fist. Keep in mind, that's something you have to do for transformation. Here's the thumb. It'd be different if I was yanking at it or anything like that. I was going out of my way to be careful. I literally just tried to move it from being here to being in the hand, going along the track that has been cut out for the thumb. Snapped off literally as soon as I grazed it. It's funny because in the Thundercracker review, I mentioned be careful with the fingers, they could break. In the Skywarp review, I mentioned be careful with the fingers, they could break. Didn't mention that here. Maybe I should have. Maybe I jinxed myself. There's things you can do. I can super glue the thumb. And in all honesty, it might be that like I never really even notice it. But yeah, that really takes the wind out from underneath my sails because unlike Skywarp and Thundercracker, Slipstream wasn't on sale. I paid a pretty penny for Slipstream. Paid a whole lot more than I normally would because I thought, well, you know, it would mean I get to have all 3 of my favorite Seekers, and I get to have, like, the best version of Slipstream. Masterpiece Slipstream, right? I don't know. This has soured me just a little bit. And I hate to end on a dour note, because after Skywarp, I was so excited to get this Slipstream, and I was having such a great time up until this point. But yeah, the figure does feel extra rickety. It feels more stiff in the joints than Skywarp does. In all honesty, I like toyed with Thundercracker a little bit. It feels a little bit more stiff than he does too. So be aware of that if you get this Slipstream, and also be aware to take care of those fingers. We've come on quite the journey with the Maketoys Seeker mold. We've gone from hating it to loving it to now just being appreciative of it, while also understanding that it has very, very definite limits. I'm not going to regret having these 3. I mean, just look at them together. I'm so happy to have masterpiece figures of what might be my 3 favorite Decepticons. Thundercracker, Skywarp, and Slipstream look so great together. I don't think I need any more Masterpiece Seekers. I don't think I need any other molds. I don't think I need any other characters. I'm happy here. It's honestly the happiest I've been collecting in a long time, looking at a completed trio like this. Yeah, Slipstream's thumb really did bum me out. But that's not ruining the fact that I just love having the three of them together. Slipstream does get a lesser recommend than Skywarp and Thundercracker. She has less faces, even though the guns are nice, and the figure does feel a little bit more brittle, all things considered. But it's still an amazing figure, and if you're willing to take the plunge on the heavy price point, it would be a worthwhile addition to any Masterpiece shelf. I'm happy to have them. And even if I do wish that all the fingers were still accounted for, at the very least, she can make a better fist now. This might be a bit of a weird question, but out of curiosity, would anyone be interested in me doing like a top 10 Decepticons video? Like, not necessarily a figure thing, but more like, these are the characters I like? I don't know, I've seen some people comment that. I'm just curious. Alright, that's a review.